As the indictments pile up for Trump, so does his dangerous rhetoric. Targeting political opponents, the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, and others, real worries exist about where this might go and how many in the media are normalizing the indefensible. We also bring the latest on the Hunter Biden case, where the investigation goes from here, and how much of a problem this may pose for the president next year.
Collapse of the Hunter Biden plea deal could complicate the president's campaign. Yeah, because they named a special counselor. Here is what the Washington Post is reporting. A few weeks ago, the legal clouds, not yet, around Hunter Biden were clearing. After years of personal and political turmoil, he had arrived at a plea agreement with federal prosecutors, one that would keep him out of jail while putting some of his past misdeeds behind him. Tom, we always like to put some of our youthful indiscretions
of
youth.
Yes, of course.
He had settled a child support case in Arkansas. He began making his regular public appearances with his father. But on Friday afternoon, amid a flurry of court filings and solemn public remarks from Attorney General Merrick Garland, and we've got some of this sound, any sense that the legal woes of the president's son were concluding quickly vanished. The plea agreement collapsed, and the prosecutor said that a trial, therefore, is in order. Garland granted special counsel status to U.S. Attorney David Weiss, signaling that the investigation that recently seemed to be concluding is very much ongoing. And the upshot, President Biden faces the prospect that his re-election campaign will unfold at the same time his son faces trial, possibly in a federal courthouse a few blocks from the White House. The legal proceedings could weigh on the president politically, and the fact that the case involves his surviving son, one with a history of drug and alcohol addiction, one he speaks with almost every day, one most of his advisors avoid discussing with him, is also likely to weigh on him personally. Well, it would be nice if your political opponent, let's call him Donald J. Trump, if he was under multi-count indictments in multiple jurisdictions, and you could talk about that instead of being questioned about your own ne'er-do-well son being under federal indictment or at trial. Well, politically, you'd rather have the former than the latter.
Crudy, the reporting continues. Beyond that, Hunter Biden could face trial at a time when Democrats were hoping to focus would be on Donald Trump's own trials and legal problems. The situations are much different. Trump is charged with mishandling classified documents and attempting to overturn the 2020 election, while Hunter Biden faces misdemeanor tax charges and allegations about lying about his drug use when purchased a gun. Most crucially, Trump is a former president who is seeking to return to the White House, and Hunter is a private citizen. Even so, the developments will inject an element of uncertainty into the White House. David Axelrod, a Democratic consultant who was President Barack Obama's chief strategist, said this: "On balance, I'm sure that this did not land well at the White House. There are elements of it that complicate things for the Republicans as well, but it's fair to say that nobody on Team Biden is eager for Hunter's case to be extending into the election year." Weiss becomes the second special counsel investigating matters related to Biden and his family. Garland appointed Robert Hur this year to probe the handling of classified documents found at Biden's home and former office. Biden has generally tried to avoid commenting on the ongoing investigation of Hunter Biden, but he has on occasion declared his son's innocence. "My son did nothing wrong," Biden said during a presidential debate in October of 2019. "I'm proud of my son," he said during a news conference in December of 2020, adding when asked about the likelihood that his son would be cleared on the tax investigation, "I'm confident," he replied. As of this May, his feelings had not changed. Quote, "My son has done nothing wrong," he told MSNBC. "I trust him. I have faith in him." Biden held no public events on Friday, and he did not speak to reporters, shouting questions about his son as he walked to Marine One en route to a weekend in his vacation home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. "I don't think he's really in a position to be commenting on all of this, but it's an awkward problem," Axelrod said. He's also, as he's shown, he doesn't want to undercut his son, but it's hard to say Hunter Biden has done nothing wrong when he's already tried to plead guilty. It's not a helpful situation for him.
Can't imagine it would be, Dom. And while Democrats have tried to talk about Hunter Biden as little as possible, Republicans bring him up as often as they can, something that will probably only escalate if the legal case drags on. Dom, there is some call to impeach Joe Biden. Now, initially, this was the crazies, the loonies, the Freedom Caucus, and then she was kicked out of the Freedom Caucus. I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right.
But it is my understanding, or at least it's being prophesized, that the special counselor, that the further investigation of Hunter Biden may lead to additional investigations of Joe Biden and could, in fact, lead to his impeachment. They'd like to get there. Whether or not there's anything there,
Right.
they'd like to get there.
Uh,
While Trump's at trial, if you could impeach Joe Biden, if you could clip his wings down, you don't think that'd be appealing to the Republican Party? Oh, yeah, they're going to impeach his ass.
we have some sound from Garland. I think maybe we should get there. We're ready for that. Let's roll out with some Garland.
Do you think Sean Hannity's declaring this Merrick Garland Day because of the special counselor?
Let's hear what Garland has to say. Cut number 1, please, if you would.
On Tuesday of this week, Mr. Weiss advised me that in his judgment, his investigation had reached a stage at which he should continue his work as a special counsel, and he asked to be so appointed.
So apparently he did this month. He didn't last month. Remember all the back and forth? Did he ask to be a special counsel? Did he not? Well, now he has asked, and he has been appointed. Let's do cut 2, if you would, please, Nate.
I'm here today to announce the appointment of David Weiss as a special counsel, consistent with the Department of Justice regulations governing such matters.
Let's continue on. AG Garland Weiss, cut 3.
Mr. Weiss has told Congress that he has been granted ultimate authority over this matter, including the responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges, and for making decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of any prosecution.
I think perhaps Hunter Biden should run for president, and he could talk about how political this is. A little more from AG Garland. Cut number 4, please.
I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint him as special counsel.
Okay, cut 5. What about the authority? Authority.
As special counsel, he will continue to have the authority and responsibility that he has previously exercised to oversee the investigation and decide where, when, and whether to file charges.
AG Garland talking about the special counsel appointed. Cut number 6, please.
The appointment of Mr. Weiss reinforces for the American people the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters.
Let's play. We have just 2 more. AG Garland, let's play them back to back.
This appointment confirms my commitment to provide Mr. Weiss all the resources he requests. It also reaffirms that Mr. Weiss has the authority he needs to conduct a thorough investigation and to continue to take the steps he deems appropriate independently. I am confident that Mr. Weiss will carry out his responsibility in an even-handed and urgent manner and in accordance with the highest traditions of this department.
Now, this is a little strange, Tom. David Weiss is the U.S. attorney appointed by Trump who had negotiated the prior plea deal with Hunter Biden, and he seemed satisfied with it. He actually contradicted many Republicans that claimed, oh, they didn't give him the power. He said, yeah, I always had the power. I made a deal. Well, now the Trump-appointed judge doesn't like the deal, and now this guy's seeking special counselor power.